It's important to recognize that Dr. Maron stands head and shoulders, and his head and shoulders are pretty high since he's a tall person, above anybody else who's ever worked in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
He is a giant in cardiovascular medicine who has singularly contributed to patient care in ways that most of us can only dream of.
The impact of Dr. Maron's work over the last several decades has been profound, not just on a local or national but international scale. The world of HCM without Barry Maron would be a very different world, and it would not be a very good world. Really, since the 1960s, Dr. Maron has picked this up and advanced it in a very unique way. He's contributed over 700 original publications on HCM. He has arranged summits of international thought leaders on the field that have come together on a regular basis to advance our knowledge, and also to look at what's not known, to find the gaps in knowledge and ways of filling in those gaps as well.
I can tell you it's almost impossible for me to go somewhere in medicine without people recognizing his name. And that's very unique. There are a lot of physicians in the world. There are a lot of very great fathers in the world. But my dad is both an amazing physician and an amazing father.
Looking back on things, you know, one of the reasons that I, and perhaps Brad too, were motivated to go into medicine, and particularly cardiology, was that, you know, right from the beginning, to us, we only got a very positive message about medicine and a career in medicine and a career in cardiology. It was all very positive. In fact, we only saw the good.
He is viewed as the authority on the disease. He's one of the few in the whole field of medicine that has committed his career to a thorough understanding of every facet of it, whether it be medical therapy, the genetic understanding of it, the surgical therapy, the invasive therapies, the medical therapies. He has interfaced with every expert in their respective subspecialty. He has the best overview picture of the disease. He really gets it.
The greatest asset of the MHIF and Dr. Maron's work has been he has brought together people from all around the world. To learn about a relatively uncommon disease, you need collaboration amongst countries, amongst researchers, amongst cardiologists across the world. And Dr. Maron and his team have been able to do that. And by doing that, you have strength in numbers and you are able to understand disease, understand how to treat disease. I mean, you can't extend an arm further than Australia to collaborate with somebody, yet we've been working with Dr. Maron and his team at MHIF for many years. With the common goal of improving the care of our patients. And I think in the end, everything we do, every research we do, every clinical study that we do, the beneficiaries will be the patients.
I'm a firm believer that collaboration always prevails over competition. Patients are much better off if physicians and healthcare providers collaborate and cooperate. We are much better if we work together than if we work in isolation and against each other.
So I first sort of met Barry through reading his work, and then I had the honor of meeting him at one of these international meetings in America. And I think since then we've never looked back in terms of, firstly, our friendship, which I think I probably value my friendship with Dr. Maron more than anything else. He's a mentor, he's a teacher, he's an unbelievable clinician, and of course a researcher.
His passion about the disease shines through everything he does. So he has been able to gather substantial information about different aspects of the disease. So he's a major reference in the field and has laid the ground, at least for how I handle my patients.
One of the things that I've always thought was really unique about him is his engagement with the patients outside of sort of the academic realm of studying the disease and publishing papers and being academically so prominent. You know, he has this entire parallel world of dealing with the patients themselves. And for instance, he wrote a book directed at patients. And to have, the most prominent clinician, academic person in the world in a disease work with a patient advocate to write a book for patients, understanding their disease. I mean, I can't think of any other example like that.
Barry Maron is first and foremost a doctor, and he approaches science and medicine from the patient's perspective. He has a way of analyzing issues in terms of how will they affect patient care, how will they affect diagnosis, how will they affect prognosis, most of all, how do they affect the selection of treatments.
The greatest impact in some ways is the work with the ICD, its promotion in this disease, which had really never been done prior to his initiatives, which really brought a life-saving device to a genetic heart disease that had never been done before, and for that has absolutely changed the course for the disease and the patients in a better way. There's no question about it.
The work that's been done by Dr. Maron and his team in Minneapolis has led, for the first time, the opportunity to stop young people dying suddenly from this condition. And that work that was done in the 1990s and early 2000s has directly impacted on how we look after our patients in Australia.
People can live a good lifespan and a good quality of life without major interventions in most cases. Because before he did some of his pioneering work, this was felt to be a really bad disease. That a lot of people died from it, and a lot of people got heart failure from it. And yes, people do have those things happen, but the majority of patients are doing really well.
One of the great strengths of my father's career, which may not be immediately apparent to people, is just how strong a patient advocate he has been.
The patients walk out of clinic different than they walked in because of his work.
Barry's like the nucleus of the cell. He brings it all together, and he's the sort of the area of activity that everything comes and feeds into.
The achievements are not just by chance. The achievements are the results of the hard work. And he's an example for me, has been and still is, an example of an hard worker. I recognize him as someone that is always pushing me. You have to do more, Antonio. That's what he usually says.
He doesn't accept compromise. There is no way you can take shortcuts. And then when it comes to collecting the data, analyzing, writing up, presenting orally, writing, everything has to be done at the highest academic standards.
Whether it was a 5-minute ride in a car together to some other location, or whether I stopped him in the hallway to have a conversation, he almost always was writing or thinking about writing.
So I'm often asked, what's it like to write a paper with your father? And I can say that my answer to that question began in the 4th grade, when I handed him a paragraph to read, which was, I believe, a report on a story we had read. And I got it back, and there was all this black ink all over it. And there I am, 9, looking at this and thinking to myself, what just happened?
Page after page and revision after revision, actually you understand how that particular manuscript really could improve. And the final results is always the best that we can have.
The role that my mother has played throughout the course of this story has been nothing short of miraculous, instrumental, and really has served as the foundation for all of this. For my kids, his grandkids, he has been there for them and has traveled at great distances, made time, somehow. It's pretty amazing.
He always takes me to the community center and he likes to play ping pong with me. He's sweet and spectacular. He's also the best grandpa in the world.
He is as energetic today as he was when I first worked on a project with him 20 years ago. And so when you've got that, you're unstoppable.
And the guy is dreaming about this stuff at home and at night when he goes to sleep. I mean, there's not a day that goes by where the words hypertrophic cardiomyopathy don't come out of his mouth, probably on numerous occasions. So he's totally committed, he's totally passionate, he has a complete command of the whole disease.
I don't know how else to say this. I always say to Barry, I owe you.
So he's one of a kind. No question the field would be nowhere near where it is today without his leadership. And he belongs in the Mount Rushmore of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
The continuation of Dr. Maron's work will have a tremendous impact. It would be like tossing a stone into a pond, and the ripples will extend very far.